Good morning, everybody. And happy Susan B. Anthony Day. My name is Justin Wilson. I use he, him pronouns, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this service at the First Universalist Church of Rochester. If you are here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you and thank you for making it to our worshiping community. Please remain after for coffee hour in the Clara Barton Lounge behind me, or online in the same Zoom link, or in our secondary location in the back of the sanctuary today. There is a visitor's form on the back of your order of service. We ask you to fill that out so we can offer you a welcome beyond what we can this morning, and so you can stay up to date as to what's going on here at the church. Just a reminder, if you have a big joy or sorrow in your heart this morning, to please write it in the notebook here on the chancel or online in the Zoom chat before the chalice is lit. So now is a good time to do that. A couple announcements. Today is the last day for General Assembly nominations, so make sure to get those in. Today is also, after service, we have an open spiritual discussion circle in the chalice room that's upstairs, room 23. Upcoming, we have the reception at the University of Rochester for our records, which are now stored there in the rare book collection. So if you're interested in attending that on Thursday the 26th, please RSVP. The Leadership Assembly, Saturday from 9 to noon on February 28th. So anybody involved in a ministry in the church is encouraged to attend that, so just a heads up. And lastly, tomorrow, starting at 5:30 is K-pop and pancakes. So if you're looking forward to some pancakes on President's Day and a little bit of K-pop, we invite you to join us tomorrow starting at 5:30. All right, before we turn towards our neighbor, let's say hello to our online community who's joining us via Zoom. Let's wave towards the Progress Pride flag where the camera is there. If you're online, please pop a greeting into the chat. We're happy you're joining us this morning. And for those of us in person here at First Universalist, let's turn towards our neighbor and say hello this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Eileen, she, her. I want to invite you to stay standing if you already are, or to rise in body or in spirit if you're not here or at home, as we sing together our opening hymn number 1024 in your teal hymnal or on the screens up front when the Spirit says do.
All right, I think the Spirit said come up to the podium, too. At least here. Hello, everyone. I'm Willow Schertz. My pronouns are she and he. I buy unused gender credits from the theys and thems. And let's move this forward. Greetings, beloveds. I hope everyone had a wonderful Valentine's Day yesterday. I know I did. I got some dancing in. In these dark times, it can be challenging to believe in the power of love, romantic or otherwise. One of the wonderful things about love is that often enough, we get so used to seeing it every day that we stop thinking about how powerful it really is. One of the joys I've had here at First Universalist is the opportunity it gives me to be intentional in how I view acts of love that I would otherwise not give a second thought. So to start us off this fine morning, I'd like to share a story about the power of love that happened upstairs in the chalice room just a few Sundays ago. And before I start this story, I have to thank Catherine Matisse. Hi, Catherine. Be nice to her, though. She's having a low energy day. Who gave permission to tell this story, as it involves her and her daughter Lily, as well as Reverend Michelle and everyone else who was present that day. So, after services a few weeks back, Reverend Michelle hosted a connection circle, talking about power, and in particular, how structural power can sometimes have harmful outcomes without anyone involved having bad intentions, which was a very important topic because so many people in our country now have good intentions, but bad things happen anyways. We were getting, so very serious, talking about how even democratic institutions can sometimes shift from ruling with a consensus-based authority model to ruling over an authoritarian-based ruling model. And just as we were discussing the various methods it can be used to protect democracy from shifting towards authoritarianism over time, a marvelous thing happened. Catherine's daughter, Lily, came into the room. She had quite a few boredoms and wiggles from roaming the sanctuary on her own for some time. And our group paused and discussed how to best help Lily stay occupied while we discussed her, so very important grown-up things. Lily listened to our suggestions and decided that playing in the adjoining gratitude room was a good idea, and we went back to our serious grown-up discussions. A lightning bolt hit me. Wasn't this very interaction the solution to the problem we were discussing? Shouldn't love, especially the love of someone powerless with no real negotiating power, be at the heart of every democratic decision? We had organized as a group democratically to talk about things that had nothing to do with Lily's immediate needs. But the second she expressed those needs, we tabled our adulting and negotiated with her to give her what she needed, even if she had nothing to give back in return. Maybe some love. I made sure to explain to the group what a powerful example of love and democracy working well we had just participated in. And it left such an impression on me, I felt the need to bring it up again today. I'll encourage all of us to remember, not just here in the sanctuary, but anytime someone small needs something from us, the truly grown-up thing to do is to drop whatever else we have going on and change whatever plans we have to change and make that our new plan for love. And by doing so, we should be worshiping just as much, if not more, than we do here in our sanctuary. So to paraphrase the saying, as above, so below, from the Hermetic tradition, as in this sanctuary, so in the world. Let us come to worship together in love wherever we may find ourselves, starting here. And with that, we are now going to do our chalice lighting. And as Cyrus comes forward to light our chalice at First Universalist, and you light a chalice in your own homes, please join me in our chalice lighting words. spoken in unison. We'll wait just a second for Cyrus to get in position. All right, I think we're ready. Do you know how to do it? Okay. All right. May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Thank you so much. And now, if we could please rise in body or spirit for affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all. Thank you. I invite you now into the spiritual practice of generosity. The good work of this church is funded by the gifts you give. This week, we share our offering with Family Promise. Family Promise helps families at risk of homelessness by providing emergency shelter and support services. Let us give with grateful hearts this morning. Please place your offering in the offering basket or give online by scanning the QR code on the back of your order of service. This is also a great time to place visitors' forms in the offering basket. For folks online, please click the link in the chat to give to First Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity. This morning's offering will now be gratefully received.
Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to bring your attention to something else that's happening today as well. I hope you'll enjoy this arrangement of It's You I Like, and I hope you'll enjoy it so much that you'll come back to the church this afternoon. There's a fundraiser we'll be doing for Rock Music, which is the organization that our music committee has sort of paired with over the years. And their entire mission is to support equitable access to music education for all students in the Rochester area. So they're a really, really amazing organization that we like to give donations to, raise money for. You'll get to hear some of their students. You'll get to hear some of their faculty, some of our church community. So I hope you'll consider coming back at 4 o'clock today. Thank you so much.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. I would love to invite forward anyone who would like to come closer for the story, although we do have the pictures projected on our screens, and especially if there's any kiddos joining us online, if you want to invite them over to the computer screen, and invite our friends here in the sanctuary over. So some of you might have seen this one already. I was talking about the theme for today, and even Miss Lily was like, oh, the body book in the other room. That's what we're reading today. Everybody, a first conversation about bodies by Megan Madison, Jessica Raleigh, and illustrated by I can't today, I'm sorry, and I apologize. Taquitia Andrews. There's great pictures of them too. Ready? I have a body, and my body is awesome. And yours is too. Everybody has a body. Bodies can be fat, skinny, tall, short, hairy, bald, soft, hard, dark brown, pale pink, brand new, very old, or anywhere in between. Bodies can have wrinkles, moles, freckles, scars, and spots. There are so many ways a body can look. Notice the bodies here on the picture. So many different kinds. Every body is different and special. Every body can be healthy. Every body, all the time, deserves love and care. Every body has fat. Fat is beautiful and important. It's one way that our bodies store energy. We all have different amounts of fat, and our bodies keep the fat in different places. Think about your body and where it likes to keep its fat. I use my body's energy to do the things I love. What do you love to do with your body? Think about it. My body is smart. I listen to my body because it tells me about what I need. It tells me if I need to move or if I need to rest. It tells me when I need to eat or drink water, when I need to warm up or cool down, and when I need to poop and pee. Our bodies tell us about our feelings, too. Sometimes my face gets hot and red when I feel angry. My neck feels stiff and my shoulders rise when I feel scared. My muscles feel melty when I feel safe. My toes wiggle when I'm excited. My tummy hurts when I'm nervous. Bodies don't stay the same. Every body grows and changes in size and shape over time, and not just from when you're little to when you're all the way grown, but throughout your whole life. All bodies have needs, strengths, and abilities, which means different bodies can do different things differently. And everybody needs help. Notice this fellow over here needs a stepping stool to reach up. And this person feels more comfortable with a box to put her feet up on so they're not dangling. And this person needs help tying shoes. This person might need help in moving around, so has a wheelchair to help. And this person over here needs some quiet time. And that's why we work together to make sure that everyone gets what they need. You are in charge of your body. You are in charge of how you feel about it and how you talk about it. No one knows your body as well as you do. My body belongs to me. You're trusting your body. Don't talk about my body. You look gorgeous. Nobody should tell you how to feel about your body. and nobody should talk about your body if you don't want them to. But there is a big problem. There are pictures and ideas all around us that say that some bodies are healthier and more beautiful than other bodies. And that's a lie that people made up a long time ago. Before you were born, a group of white men just started making up lots of ideas about bodies that weren't true. They said that one kind of body was the best, that being fat was bad, and almost actually that being skinny was bad, but that being this middle skinny muscular was the best. They were very wrong, but lots of people listened to them. Some people still think being skinny is better than being fat, or that you need to be healthy, you have to be thin. Because of these ideas, there are unfair rules about bodies that make lots of things harder for fat people. Getting the care they need from doctors. Also, because of these ideas, many people feel like they need to change their bodies to look a certain way. But that's not true or fair at all. Going on in this picture, you can tell this girl is here because her ankle is hurt. But the doctor is focusing on how she needs to eat differently and not focusing on her ankle needing attention. These untrue ideas are hurtful and make it harder for people to get what they need. So it's important to come together to tell the truth about bodies. Every body is a good body. All bodies can be healthy. Thankfully, there are already lots of people who are working together to make things more fair for everybody. We can do it too, and I'll just read the signs. Everybody needs help. You can be healthy at any size. I will be kind to my body. Our bodies are wise. And finally, I wanted to share a song that was introduced to me, and if you are interested, I can send you the link to the song. And it's basically about this thing that so many people talk about, fat and bellies. And the bellies is the best part. And in the video, she sings this to babies who have the best bellies to squish. So it says, big belly, little belly, round belly, flat. Some have a lot of muscle, some have a lot of fat. Some jiggle and they wiggle and some do not. But I like whatever kind of belly that you've got. Yeah. Would you like to try to sing it with me? Yeah. Pretty simple. Big belly, little belly, round belly, flat. Some have a lot of muscle, some have a lot of fat. Some wiggle and they jiggle and some do not. And I like whatever kind of belly that you've got. Thank you. Awesome. So I invite you guys to come upstairs with myself and Lily and Carol for children's worship, or you can stay here with family, and we'll all sing together our doxology.
We're going to notice a difference between mine and Willow's bodies. Got my step stool out. I invite us into a time now of sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from a more heart-centered place. We know so much is going on in our world today, and if you have joys or sorrows to share on behalf of yourself or our national and global community, you are encouraged to do so today and always. As Willow places stones into a bowl, I will read aloud the joys and sorrows of our gathered community. We share with Catherine in a joy that after having dealt with dental pain for 2.5 months, it is finally being resolved. We share the big joy that Joyce Gilbert turned 90 on Tuesday, and we will celebrate with cake during coffee hour. We share in Adam's sorrow that after spending a day trying to save her and failing, he had to say goodbye to the sweetest 2,000-pound cow, and we wish her ease and rest. Sophie. We share with Lyle a concern for a friend, both lowercase and uppercase f, who is facing unjust criminal charges for participation in an anti-ICE protest in Oregon. We celebrate another birthday, Patty's, who turned 80 on Wednesday, and who got 2 cakes, balloons, and chocolate from her students. We share in Kitty's concern and compassion for the Guthrie family. We share with another member great joy and hope for the life to come and appreciation for a lovely Valentine's Day. We share with a sorrow with Hal that ICE is in Minnesota, menacing protesters and here at home. And we share deep concern and solidarity with our UU siblings who are in the streets in Minnesota, who are dropping off food to homes where people feel they can't be safe enough to leave, who are organizing tenants' unions to avoid evictions for those folks, who are going back and forth between detention centers and homes where children remain and family members remain, who are videotaping, who are watching, who are witnessing. And I would invite you to take all that sorrow, that joy, that rage, that solidarity, and to put it in the form of a Valentine during coffee hour if you have the time. There are cards on the tables in the Clara Barton Lounge where you can write a message of support to our UU siblings in Minnesota, and I will send it to them. Today we share also in a community ritual to honor the many joys and sorrows that we bring into this space, whether we read them aloud or keep them in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. In a moment, those here in person are invited to come forward and to drop stones into the bowls at the front. If you need to remain seated, you can raise your hand and someone will come to you with a bowl to drop stones in. And if you're joining us online, we invite you to drop a heart emoji into the meeting chat. So let us join in this collective ritual of honoring the joys and sorrows of us all now. Let us join together now in a time of prayer and centering, followed by some shared silence. And since we are talking about these good bodies today, I invite you to pray with your whole body. And of course, what else would we use to pray? Let's take a deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. Breathe in and perhaps let your feet find the floor beneath you or arm feel supported by your chair. Breathe out and know that you are held by this good earth, by this good church. Breathe in, and perhaps your eyes fall closed. You are safe. Breathe out. You belong here. Breathe in and remind yourself the earth supports you and meets your needs. Breathe out. Love for your body and trust in its wisdom. Breathe in and remind yourself that it's you I like. Breathe out. Yes, you, not just everyone else, but you. Breathe in. You are part of the great wide web of life. Breathe out. You are immersed in the abundance of that web. Breathe in and just be here. Breathe out. Just be here together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. Our hymn of contemplation this month is number 95, There is More Love Somewhere. When he was 5, my older child, Rory, spent the summer raising monarch caterpillars. It was a very COVID lockdown summer, and he learned in one of far too many YouTube videos about insects that monarchs are 80% more likely to survive to their butterfly stage if they're raised in captivity. So this bug-loving kid checked, I think, every milkweed leaf on the Erie Canal for monarch eggs. We had a whole monarch operation going in our dining room, and I learned a lot about these little creatures. I'm going to tell you if that's all right. To be frank, I'm going to tell you even if it's not. They start out as a little white egg the size of a pencil point on the underside of a leaf, a milkweed leaf exclusively. And after a few days, the egg turns black, and just when you think it's surely dead, a tiny caterpillar emerges, nearly as thin as a single human hair and less than a centimeter long. They start eating milkweed and grow and grow and grow. They double in size every couple of days. And then when they're at the end of their caterpillar life, they choose a sturdy spot and do what the pros call a J hang, which is what it sounds like, hanging in the shape of a letter J. And, this is the coolest part, they shed their last skin, and they don't go into a chrysalis, but their bodies become a chrysalis, filled with, honestly, scientists aren't 100% sure, but some kind of proto-butterfly goop. And then out of the goop, a delicate, strikingly beautiful monarch butterfly emerges. And the container, which was the body of the caterpillar, falls away. In a few hours, they're dry enough to fly away and start the whole cycle over again. It is amazing. And if you're like, what is with the bug lecture? Let me say this. I share this with you all this morning because I want to suggest to you that your very own body is no less amazing than a monarch butterfly's. And, I'm not kidding even a little, this is why we come to church. To be reminded to sit with that awe. Because bodies are awesome in the biblical sense. It is right to be amazed by them. And I know they're also complicated. And we have complicated feelings about them. They can do incredible things like climb mountains and sleep through the night and make new bodies and blush with excitement and laugh and cry, and sometimes they do difficult things like get cancer and ache around the joints when it rains and host viruses and lose abilities they once had and die eventually. And that's complicated emotionally. I'm not going to pretend that it isn't, but we come here on Sundays because this church, our community, orients us in awe toward the complicated mysteries of life, orients us in delight toward our own bodies, in love toward the bodies of this body of the earth. This is why we have embodied practices together, like reaching out a hand in greeting, turning our bodies toward one another even when we're not in the same room, like placing a hand on our heart when we listen, like taking a deep breath before we pray, like singing together. And this feels like an abrupt pivot, but stay with me. I did a unit of clinical pastoral education, which is like hospital chaplain training, when I was early in ministry. Not here in Rochester, it feels important to say for reasons you'll soon understand. And it was a tough time. Not the actual work of chaplaincy, that was tough for sure, but the sort of hard work that is also purposeful and fulfilling. It was a tough time because there were 8 of us student clergy in this learning unit, 6 of whom were white cisgender men with extremely conservative Christian theologies. They thought I was an affront to their faith just by being in the room as your standard issue bisexual heretic. And that was before they met the 8th student in the group, Cam, who was non-binary and disabled and Jewish. Triple threat. Every time we were in a room together, which was every day, the very existence of the 2 of us was a threat to the spiritual lives of the other 6 students, which, how fragile does your spirituality have to be? Anyway, they were hostile. It was bad, like formal complaints of a hostile work environment to hospital HR bad. You see why I had to make sure to tell you this was not in Rochester. It's nobody you know. And let me just say up front that if you're hoping this is a story about someone speaking truth to power and changing this corrupt system for good, I'm sorry to let you down in advance, but it isn't. We both just got through our required hours, buried the HR office and paperwork, and then got the hell out, no heroics. Every morning, we started the day in the spiritual care office with group centering time. Student chaplains and staff each took turns sharing something meaningful, usually from within their religious tradition or a spiritual practice that was important to them, sharing that with the group. One of the many triggers for the rage of the Dude Bros was a reading that Cam shared from Audre Lorde's essay, The Erotic as Power. In case you're wondering how appropriate that might be for the setting, here's an excerpt. Audre Lorde writes, "The very word erotic comes from the Greek word eros, the personification of love in all its aspects, born of chaos and personifying creative power and harmony. When I speak of the erotic, then I speak of it as an assertion of life force, of that creative energy empowered, the knowledge and use of which we are now reclaiming in our language, our history, our dancing, our loving, our work, our lives. The bridge which connects the political and the spiritual is formed by the erotic, the sensual, those physical, emotional, and psychic expressions of what is deepest and strongest and richest within each of us, being shared. The passions of love in its deepest meanings. Beyond the superficial, the considered phrase, "it feels right to me," acknowledges the strength of the erotic as true knowledge. For what that means is the first and most powerful guiding light toward any understanding. The sharing of joy, whether physical, emotional, psychic, or intellectual, forms a bridge between the sharers, which can be the basis for understanding much of what is not shared between them, and lessens the threat of their difference. So I understood immediately why Cam chose it for this particular group, for anyone doing an embodied ministry in a hospital setting. And even if we got a little jump scare from the title, that felt like a pretty non-radical interfaith reading. The men in our group talked in the subsequent meeting for about 40 minutes on how they felt attacked by it. Anyway, remember, no heroes in this story. I rolled my eyes through the 40-minute meeting, complained about it to Brian at home, and then moved on with my life. A week or so later, we were driving past some cornfields as a family, and I started talking about corn fertilization, like one does. This feels like an extreme pivot again. Stay with me. As a farm child raising a city child, I felt he should be exposed to the wonders of corn reproduction. I talked about how each corn stalk has both male and female reproductive parts, that you're going to hear the corn lecture, whether you like it or not, just like he did. The tassels at the top of a stalk of corn shed pollen, which falls down to the ears below. And each piece of corn silk functions as the stigma to catch the pollen and carry it down to the ovule to be fertilized and become a kernel of corn. So you see, I said to the child, who did not care, corn is a self-pollinator. And Brian, who was also subjected to the corn lecture, probably not for the first time, said with the driest delivery you've ever heard, "How erotic, I feel attacked." Right? We can laugh at the absurdity of that when it's the spectacular miracle of plant bodies we are responding to in veneration and awe. So why not our own? I mean it with every fiber of my being when I say that your body is as deserving of reverence as a cornstalk or a butterfly. And let me be very clear, not the human body in some platonic ideal kind of way, but each and every one of our particular bodies, just as they are. The power of that reverence, that connection to our embodied lives is what Audre Lorde was writing about. It's what made the bros at the hospital feel attacked. It is, I don't think this is too radical to say, the driving force of our faith. And it's what terrifies the machine of American oppression about anyone out here, living like trans bodies, queer bodies, women's and children's bodies, disabled bodies, black and brown bodies, etc., are worthy of dignity and love. My peers at the hospital's story of their own victimhood made them miss out on the depth of this reverence. We are all missing out when we divorce our intellectual and spiritual lives from our embodied experience. We are missing out on the connection to our own selves, as well as to the summer cornfields and the monarchs who live on their fringes, and all the beautiful bodies in this interdependent web. We are missing out when we fail to cultivate love, pleasure, delight in our bodies. Whenever we actively cultivate the opposite in fear, distance, numbness. And as much as I'd love to point at conservative Christian dude bros as the problem without ever turning inward, I'm sorry to say that we have a long history of doing the same thing. Maybe not exactly the same thing. But we have built an extensive framework of distance between love and our bodies. If you have ever looked at your body in the mirror and felt like it ought to be different, that is the inheritance of white supremacy, patriarchy, bigotry, and ableism. It's not trivial, right? These are systems of power that devalue life, that devalue and convince us to do the work of devaluing living bodies. They are systems of power that exist on the foundation of the myth that only some bodies are acceptable. Those correct bodies are pretty exclusively white, cisgender, male, young, and not yet disabled. And even those acceptable bodies, all the way back to the Enlightenment dude bros, want to reduce themselves to a mind disconnected from a body, right? I think, therefore I am. Not Descartes doing the work of disconnection from the body that connects us all to life? The body that depends on its neighbors and humanity and the web of life to exist? We have been recruited to do the work of devaluing our own bodies on behalf of systems of power that would use and abuse them for centuries. Because if every body is worthy and good, how could we enslave one? How could we colonize one? How could we refuse one health care and safe housing? How could we continue to cut apart and brutalize the body of the earth? We have been recruited to do the work of devaluing our own bodies on behalf of systems of power, and churches, I'm sorry to say, have been eager to join the work. We have our own spiritual ancestors, the Puritans, yes, them again, to thank for the anti-pleasure sensibility that even the word erotic is an attack. It's that inheritance that makes us hear the title, the erotic as power, and go, "Ooh, in church, Eileen?" I won't pretend I didn't say that to myself. It is also the church, the 19th century Christians, who get credit for the advent of diet culture. Folks like Presbyterian minister Sylvester Graham of the Cracker, and Seventh-day Adventist leader John Kellogg of the cereal. They and a whole movement of white American Protestants behind them advocated a narrowly restricted, bland diet to discourage people from meeting their body's needs for pleasure in really any of the ways. And sliding into the 20th century, the moral purity, early diet culture assigned to food restriction extended into the moral purity mindset of the growing movement of eugenics. Unsurprisingly, the belief that some bodies are good and some aren't has always been a convenient bridge between dieting and racism, sexism, ableism, and homophobia, and all of the isms that have always all been eugenicist. The idea that bodies need to be controlled and restricted, that pleasure is wrong, that bodily intuition is not to be trusted, that is the foundation for all of these intersecting oppressions. And they have always intersected here. White supremacy, homophobia, anti-transness, ableism, anti-fatness, these have always been pieces of one eugenicist position that some bodies don't matter, that some bodies shouldn't exist. We have been recruited to do the work of eugenics, of devaluing bodies, but we can refuse to do it. We can begin to opt out of that work by choosing to love our own bodies, to invest in our own embodied joy, to refuse to shy away from pleasure and delight. And I know that's not just like a switch we can flip, right? So if we aren't ready to start with pleasure and joy, maybe we start with neutrality. Maybe we start by reminding ourselves that our bodies are morally neutral. The size and shape of our bodies, their skin color, their sexuality, their sex or gender, their abilities or health are all morally neutral. There is no right-sized body, no right health status, no superior body, just as there is no correct gender or sexuality, no right age to be, no right race to be. So maybe the road to loving the bodies we are starts here, just without judgment. This is my body. I am embodied, therefore I am. And we can hope that neutrality will give us the power to say yes to ourselves, to follow our delight without fear or judgment or shame. As Audre Lorde wrote in that same essay, we have been raised to fear the yes within ourselves, our deepest cravings, for the demands of our released expectations lead us inevitably into actions which will help bring our lives into accordance with our needs, our knowledge, our desires. And the fear of our deepest cravings keeps them suspect, keeps us docile and loyal and obedient, and leads us to settle for or accept many facets of our oppression. And then, if the non-judgment of the yes within us seems possible, maybe we start to feel gratitude and joy in other bodies, in the monarchs, in the summer tall fields of corn, in the neighbors we care for. Those bodies are amazing, wondrous, worthy of our reverence, right? And woven together in the same web that holds ours. So the corn reaches for the blue August sky because our farmer neighbor planted it. They planted it for our bellies. The milkweed that delights in growing at the edges of that cornfield is both food and home for the monarchs, and the wasps who take joy in the milkweed destroy the eggs of insects who would damage its corn neighbors. We depend on one another. We are interdependent, therefore we are. Our bodies only exist in relationship to every other body in the web. How could we do anything but celebrate them, sanctify them? One of the ways American Christianity has done the work of devaluing bodies, which we should take at least a little bit of responsibility for, is through a pretty awful misreading of Genesis chapter 2. You know, where Adam and Eve eat some fruit and are forever after humans and the whole earthly creation are irredeemably bad and broken. You know that one. And it's only possible to misinterpret that chapter so terribly if you failed to read the one chapter that comes before it. Because Genesis 1 is a litany of creation where each verse ends with a divine proclamation of its goodness. These are two separate creation myths, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 2, the Adam and Eve bit, is likely a Hebrew myth that got inserted into Jewish scriptures quite late in the game. Chapter 1 is a retelling of the Babylonian creation myth, where a demigod character pulls apart a sea goddess to form the earth and the sky, filling each with creatures made of the blood of an enemy. All bodies in that worldview were made of literally bad blood. But the Jewish writers who were enslaved in the Babylonian Empire retold that myth with the words of their God echoing on repeat as an addition after each act of creation. It is good. It is good. It is good. Power, like the power of empire, cannot see goodness where it longs for order. The power of empire could never abide a love for the goodness of life, because that love undermines its control. And yet people under the thumbs of empires across the ages have looked at the web of life and sung that same refrain over and over. It is good. We have been recruited to do the work of devaluing these good bodies. And it is time we went on strike. These bodies are good. The birds and the bees and the corn and the butterflies and each of us. Every single one, and all of us together, which is, of course, the only way we are. May we always remember. Amen. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and sing together our closing hymn, number 108 in the gray hymnal or on the screens in front of us. My life flows on in endless song. I invite you to remain standing if you are, as Willow extinguishes our chalice flame this morning. And let us read together the words that are printed on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts, with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in, until we are together again. As we close our service this morning, I invite you to place a hand over your heart. If you are joining us online, I invite you to turn your settings to gallery view and look upon the faces of those here with you. For those of us in the room, let us take a moment to look around at those gathered today. And I offer as a benediction these words from the poet Hafez. I rarely let the word no escape from my mouth, because it is plain to my soul that the divine has shouted yes, yes, yes to every luminous movement in existence. Amen. Everyone is invited to join us for coffee hour immediately after the service in the Clara Barton Lounge or at the back of the sanctuary. There's coffee in both places, or in the current Zoom meeting online. We hope to see you there.